Now, in this section, on page 115, Keep on Walking, it's called. Again, lech lecha, Abraham, you want to be a servant of God, move, keep on moving. And that's the one that has the Rebbe that seems like a different person every day because he kept moving. And here's a major point. If you're moving in the direction of God, the more you move up, the closer you move to people. Don't tell me you moved so close to God and suddenly you're away from people. So Shlomo himself has had the experience, he tells us, of I guess he meets people and he becomes a source of bringing them back to Judaism. Next he sees the same person 2 or 3 years later. The person now is a super frummy belonging to one of the sects. And that person won't even look at Shlomo because now that Shlomo isn't that super frum. God forbid she looks at women, Holy cow, how unfrum can you get? So now that's the obvious storybook interpretation here. And that's as far as Shlomo goes. He gives us another clue. He says at the end of this section, he says, above all, lech lecha, keep on moving, don't stop, don't ever stand still. Get closer to yourself, to the deepest depths of you, and get closer to every human being in the world. So somehow getting close to yourself and getting close to every human being in the world, and getting close to God are all related. Now that's a little bit complicated. I mean, we can say, oh, that sounds nice. If I'm close to God, then I'm close to everybody, and everything is hunky-dory. But that's if you leave your brain behind and just get to be one of these typical carlebach people, with cotton candy between your ears, and just getting into the groove and getting into the mood and getting into all that stuff. But that's not me, unfortunately for me, and whether you like it or not, I'm sorry. So, how do I interpret this? Now, if we're going to go a little further now, we have this basic laid out system of dialectical philosophy. We need to say a little bit more about Gestalt therapy to help understand this one. Because here we have a situation where somehow the closer you get to God, somehow the closer you're getting to people. Now you would think, well, if I'm getting to God, I'm higher and higher and higher, the people are down there, what do? Drag them along with me somehow or other? What's the sense in that? Now, what does it have to do with getting in touch with myself? Well, let's see, if I get in touch with myself and my deepest self, but still, I'm here and the person's over there, and there's a logical element here that's missing in just about every one of Shlomo Carlebach's stories. And here in the commentary is the same thing. I mean, it's there if you know how to find it. But unfortunately, I have not seen anybody that knows how to find it. So that I'm taking upon myself the responsibility. So here's a difficult one. And to get to this one, you need to think a little bit. Okay? Now, the clearest way to understand this thing is in Gestalt therapy. Listen carefully now. Let's say I like to work with 3 hours with somebody in Gestalt therapy session and working on a dream, because that in 3 hours that person can move, keep moving, lech lecha, keep moving, and actually get somewhere, get closer to something or other. Rather than one of these quickie group things, 15 minutes to each customer, they pay a lot of money and you basically get nothing, or practically nothing. But let's say you do my work, okay, and you spend 3 hours. So you start off with something very superficial, I had this dream, and I tell this happened. But after 3 hours, if you work with associations, this associates to this, you go through thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That's a little bit of the depth of the rebirth of ego, and then you do another cycle. Let's say in the course of 3 hours, you might do 5 cycles. Each one's going to somehow or other, since you're in the here and now, you're flowing along with this river of experience, what they call the phenomenology of the spirit. That's Hegel's word for it. The river. Nachman of Breslov also talks about the river. I am the brook, he says in the prologue, and that's what he's talking about. I am the dialectical brook, and you flow with me, and you'll get your dialectical philosophy without having to think about philosophy. Okay? So, after, let's say we have a 3-hour session. After 2 hours, say this particular customer, client, whatever, searcher, is dealing, let's say, with mother. Mother died. I got to deal with mother, and at the beginning, the person was dealing with all kinds of conflicts. Oh, I hate that you did this, and then I'm guilty about that, and I should have done this, and this could have happened. And all of these things are levels that need to be worked through. But there's this crucial point that if a person is working well, for up to almost 3 hours, it very often happens, I won't say always, but it happens a lot, that a person gets to a point which I am going to label the point of unfinished business. Unfinished business. And what's so special about that point is that now we have it's always with 2 chairs in Gestalt therapy. One side talks to the other. That sets up an X and a minus X for a dialogue there. And more as the time goes by, the session is more and more awareness, it gets harder and harder to see these 2 sides as opposites. More and more, since a lot of times you start identifying, because since you have to become the other person in order to do the 2 sides. This is not psychodrama with auxiliary egos playing the different sides. No, this is Gestalt therapy where the whole thing is your world, and that's what keeps it so spiritual, in my opinion, and so close to the Kabbalah. Each time you identify with that other side, the other person, say your mother, you come closer, and it gets harder to see her as opposite to you. And more you begin to get a sense that there's some unity, some synthesis, which is kind of almost ready to take over here. And if I just let myself go and stop hanging on to my preset idea, that I'm guilty about this, and she should have done this, and I should have done that. And if I let some of that just be secondary and just stay with the contact and the awareness and just express the love or the hate or whatever it is that needs to come out to finish the business. So to release that energy so that you can say to that person, okay, now mother, you go in peace to your grave. Of course I love you. I'm willing to let you go in peace to your grave. And I'm not going to hang on to you like some kind of divik. I'm not going to keep you to myself like this for the rest of my life and strangle myself with you and strangle you with me. No, I'm not going to play that dumb game. I'm going to be more intelligent, more dialectical, and I'm going to allow you to go to your peace, and somehow, we will be together again in the next world or something, or when the Messiah comes or whatever. In Gestalt therapy, they call it identify with the coming solution. Identify with the coming solution. So in other words, I'm identifying with the new oneness that wants to come. Call it God, call it